Hello, this is Mr. Bradsby. We worked on some methods of multiplying again yesterday, or the last lesson. And today we're going to continue and look at some methods for multiplication, especially with larger numbers like 1,000. Okay, here are some problems. Let's work them. Okay, 8 times 1. Multiply 8 times 1. Well, we all know anything times 1 is that number. 8 times 1 is 8. Well, what is 8 times 10? You got it. 80. What is 8 times 100? 8 100s. Well, I'll bet you said 800. And 8 times 1,000. 8,000. Now, that was pretty easy, wasn't it? Well, there's a reason for this. When we multiply by ones, you get ones, no extra zeros, right? When you multiply by 10, which has 1 0, okay, you get 1 0 in the answer. Same thing then, we multiply 8 times 100. There are 2 zeros in hundreds, so the answer has 2 zeros, 800. Same thing with 1,000. How many zeros are there? 3. So the answer has 3 zeros. That's important because this comes up when we do our multiplication. For example, suppose we have the problem 2,437 multiplied by 4. Okay? One way to do this problem is the expanded or place value form, which shows us that this is 2,000 plus the next place value, that's 400, right? So we write it 400. The next place value is tens, so that is 30, plus the last one, 4 times 7, that's the ones place, right? So there's no zeros here. 4 times 7 is 28. Oops, I'm sorry, I'm not supposed to multiply yet, getting ahead of myself. This is just 7 in the ones place, that's what we said, in the ones place. So just 7, no zeros. So again, see, we multiply by ones here. There's no zeros, so that's our 7. We multiply by 10, there's a 0, so there's 30. When we expand it out, 30. Then there's 400. Hundreds has 2 zeros, and thousands has the 3 zeros. So then when we multiply by 4, and I'm going to start over here on the right with the 4 and the 7, okay? Because this helps us in the shortcut method. 4 times 7 is 28. No zeros, it's the ones, just like over here. 1 times 8 is 8. 4 times 7, 28 ones, 28. Okay, then 4 times 30. Well, when we multiply by 10, there's going to be 1 0. So I'm going to write the 0 down. 1 0. 4 times 3 is 12. So that's going to be 120. Then we go to the hundreds place, 400. How many zeros are in 400? 2 zeros. So I can just write those down. 2 zeros, hundreds. 4 times 4 then is 16. Okay? And it's hundreds. Okay, then the last one, thousands. 3 zeros. And I want to keep these underneath each other. So when I add, I'll have them in the exact place value place, the hundreds, the ones, the tens, the hundreds, the thousands. Okay, 4 times 2,000 is 8,000. So you see, just like we did up here to begin with, we had ones with no zeros, then tens, 1 0, hundreds, 2 zeros, thousands, 3. So as we worked our way down this multiplication problem, we didn't have any extra zeros. Now you could have a 0 in there. For example, if this was 4 times 5, we'd get 20. So there would be a 0 there, but no extra zeros. 4 times 7 is 28, okay? Then we put down a 0 because that's going to be tens. When we multiply by 400, we put down 2 zeros, then we put down 3 zeros, and multiplied the numbers, 16 and 8. Final step is to add it up, and we got to make sure we keep our columns straight, right? So when we add these, we'll be able to add the right numbers. This is all ones. There's only 8 ones. In the tens column here, there's 2 and 2 is 4. Okay, nothing to regroup over to the hundreds. 6 and 1 is 7. Nothing to regroup. 1 and 9, 8 is 9. 9,748. Okay? I hope that helps you to see that as we move up in our multiplication, we go to the tens, which would have 1 0, to the hundreds, which would have 2 zeros, and the thousands, which would have 3 zeros. Let's try and do that, thinking about it in our regular multiplication problem. Okay, so one thing, 4 times 7, the ones place is 28, just like we said over here. Now we're going to multiply by 10, so I can put down a 0. 4 times 3 is 12, okay? So 120. 4 times 30, 120, that's right. Now we're going to multiply times hundreds. You see, so I could just put the zeros down first if I want. 4 times 4 is 16. And now I'm going to multiply times 1,000, and that's 3 zeros. 4 times 2 is 8. Add them up, and to keep the columns straight again. 8, 2 and 2 is 4, 1 and 6 is 7, 1 and 8 is 9. So get the same answer, right? But I'm thinking about these values, putting down 1 0 for the tens, 2 zeros for the 100, 3 zeros for the thousands. And they look a lot alike, don't they? I mean, here the bottom part is exactly the same. This and this are exactly the same. 28, 120, 1,600, and 8,000, and add them up. So the idea is, as you move across, as you move down the problem here, across the problem, you're going to have to put in these zeros and make sure you keep them so the place value is appropriate. It's in the right place value. Okay, let's try another example, thinking about the same thing. This is the ones place, so we're going to multiply 6 times 3, and that's 18. Okay? Now I'm going to multiply times the tens place. So when I multiply by the tens, I'm going to have 1 0, because it's tens. So 6 times 6 is 36. 6 times 6. Now I'm going to multiply over here in the hundreds, the 5. So I could put down 2 zeros, it's going to be hundreds, and then multiply 6 times 5 is 30. Okay? Now I'm going to multiply times the thousands. So, see, now this does, well, okay, thousands, I put down 3. Now notice that the answer here had 3 zeros, but that's because we're multiplying 6 times 5 is 30. No extra zeros, just 2 zeros for hundreds. Now we're into thousands. So 6 times 4, 24. 6 times 4,000 is 24,000. Add it up. 8, 7, 3, 7, 2. It's read 27,378. That's the 10,000s place, isn't it? Okay, so there's another example of putting down the zeros. It's the shorter method of thinking about the place value. I'm going to do the same problem now using the shortcut. And you'll see as we go along, it is just the same as this over here. And I'll show you why. Here we go. 6 times 3 is 18. Now, we're going to put down the 8 and regroup, put the 1 over in the tens, because it's 18, 110. And that's what we had here, was 18. But we're going to put the 1 up here to add on in the tens place. Now, instead of putting down a 0 to add on, I'm just going to go to the tens place, this place, okay? And I'm going to multiply 6 times 6 is 36 plus 1 is 37. So I'm going to 7, and I'm going to regroup the 3 because it is 300s, right? Right there it is, 300. And I'm going to put that over here in the hundreds place. And that's what it was over here, in the hundreds place. So I multiply, 6 times 5 is 30. 3 more hundreds, just like we added there. That'd be 33. And 3 thousands now. Put that over here to add on. 6 times 4 is 24. And 3 more. That's 24 and 3 is 27. 4 and 3 is 7. So there we are. Notice the answers are the same, but I did that with the shortcut method. And it does fit the place value. I'm going to show you here, maybe I can do it in red. The 1 we carried here. 36 we carried was there. The 3,000 was carried here, or regrouped into the thousands place. So we did exactly the same as the first problem, except we just put the next place value, regrouped it into the appropriate place, into the appropriate place value. The 1 in the tens place, the 3 in the hundreds place, and the 3 again in the thousands place. When you add them up, you get the same answer. So this is the shortcut version. This is not a bad version, though, this one here. If you could remember how to do that one, I like that method. It works just fine. And if you could do the shortcut, that's fine too. So those are some of our methods for multiplication. Okay, well, I think it's time for you to try some problems, and then we'll talk about them after you try them and see if you can do them. You can use any method you want. You can use expand them out as 1,000 plus 400 plus 60 plus 6 and multiply by the 3 and get the answers. Or you can use the place value method where you think about the place value as you go along and put down the zeros. Or you can use the shortcut method, whatever you want to use. So put me on pause, work these problems. When you finish the problems, come back and we'll talk about them. Okay, well, here we go. I'm going to use a couple methods, but I'm going to use the thinking about the place value method, where I think this is 3 times 6, which is 18. Okay? And then I know that's going to the tens place, so that's going to have a 0. 3 times 6 again is 18. Notice, of course, 18 and 18, but we got the tens, so it's got to have a 0. Now we're going to go to the hundreds place here, so that's going to be 2 zeros. Just like 8 times 100 was 800, so 2 zeros. 3 times 4 is 12. Okay? Now I'm going to multiply into the 1,000s, which will have 3 zeros. 3 times 1 is 3. Answer, 8, 9, 3, 4. Keep the rows, the columns straight, and just add them up. So there's that method. Okay, well, let's do the same thing here. 4 times 4 is 16. Now I'm going to go to the hundreds, which is 0. But you get 0 because 4 times 0 is 0. Okay, now I'm going to the hundreds, which will have 2 zeros. 4 times 3 is 12. Now I'm going to the thousands, which will have 3 zeros. 2 times 4 is 8. 6, add it. 1, 2, 9. 9,216. Try one more here. Same thing. 6 times 3 is 18. Okay? Now I'm going to multiply in the tens. So I got to put down a 0 because I know it's going to be tens. 6 times 10 is 60. So 6 times 1 is 6. Okay, now I'm going to hundreds. So I'll have 2 zeros. Okay? When we multiply times hundreds, we'll have 2 zeros. 6 times 2 is 1200, or 12. And then I'm going to thousands. So notice, no zeros, 1 0, 2 zeros, 3 zeros, okay? 6 times 6 is 36. Add them up. 8 plus 0 plus 0 plus 0 is 8. 1 and 6 is 7. 2 and 0 is 2. 1 and 6 is 7. And 3. 37,278. Okay? I hope that makes sense. Notice that when we multiply then, with the larger numbers, we just put down 1 0 for the tens place, 2 for hundreds, and 3 for thousands. Okay, I'm going to show you the shortcut method again, how to do these. Let me erase. All right, let's do the shortcut method. 3 times 6 is 18 with a 10 to regroup into the tens place. 3 times 6 is 18 plus 1 more 10 is 19. 100 to carry. Regroup into the hundreds place, my 1. 3 times 4 is 12 and add 1, 13. Regroup the 1 over in the thousands place now. 3 times 1 is 3 plus 1 is 4. Got the same answer. Shortcut method. Try it again here. 4 times 4 is 16. Regroup the 1 into the tens because it was 1 10 and 6 1s, so that's in the tens. 4 times 0 is 0. Add the 1 10 and it's 1. Okay, now we're into the hundreds place. 4 times 3 is 12. So we put down the 2, that would be the hundreds. Plus we'll carry the 1,000 over to the thousand place. 4 times 2 is 8, plus 1 is 9. Got the same answer, shortcut method. We're regrouping these rather than writing them down. We're just regrouping them into the appropriate place value spot. Well, here we go again. 6 times 3 is 18. Regroup the 1. 1 and 8 is 18 there, the 1 10 and 8 1s. 6 times 1 is 6 and 1 is 7. Nothing to regroup because it was just the answer is 7. 6 times 2 is 12 and regroup the 1. 1 and 2 makes a 1,002 to 1,200. 6 times 6 is 36 and 1 is 37. Got the same answer. So that gives you a couple of ways to get the answer. Show you again. I think the teachers can review, answer any questions you might have on how to use these methods. You should use the one that makes sense. That's the big idea. We're giving you different ones. You can pick the one that makes sense to you and work out and get the correct answer to the problem. Well, enjoy your mathematics.